Valley Light.
In our previous video, we talked about the word tense in English language. We explained what we mean when we come across the word tense or whenever anybody makes use of the word tense. We said that tense refers to the parts of the verbs that make us understand the times of actions in expressions or in sentences. We went further to talk about the tenses that we have in English language, where we mentioned the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. Also remember that under the present tense, we said that we have the simple present tense, the present continuous tense, the present perfect tense, and the present perfect continuous tense. And then today we are going to be focusing on the simple present tense. Whenever you make use of the simple present tense, there are ideas that you communicate. And these ideas include the first one, statement of fact. You use the simple present tense when you state something that is a fact. That is why we have statement of fact. Take for instance when a person says that the whale is an aquatic animal. The whale is an aquatic animal. What you have here is a fact. And that is why you find out that this sentence appears in the simple present tense form. You also make use of the simple present tense form of an expression when you are stating a habitual action. When you are stating an action that is habitual, it also appears in the simple present tense form. Remember that when you talk about something as being habitual, it means that it happens often. This is something that happens occasionally. It is something that happens repeatedly. This thing often happens around that time of speech. And let me remind you that whenever you're talking about the present tense form, generally, you're talking about actions that happen around within the time of speech. Now consider the sentence that you have on the board. They go to school daily. They go to school daily. This sentence is in the simple present tense form. And what actually makes it to appear in the simple present tense form, that is this verb that we have here. This verb is in its root form. Whenever you make a sentence that is in the simple present tense form, the verb in that sentence is expected to be in its root form. It is in its root form when the subject of the sentence is plural. And then you add s to it when the subject is singular. Remember that we have the singular verbs and the plural verbs. When you have something like goes instead of go, this is the singular form of the same word, the singular form of go, whereas this is the plural. So whenever you have the subject appearing in the plural form, the verb should be in the plural form. That is when it should be in the root form of it, they go. Had it been we have something like she, because this is singular, the verb here should also be singular. You would have had she goes to school daily. So the sentence that we have on the board is in the simple present tense form. That is why we say that you make use of the simple present tense form when you are stating a habitual action. And the action here is habitual, meaning that it is something that happens repeatedly. It is something that happens occasionally. It is something that often happens. Also take note that there are situations where we make use of the simple present tense form to point to future occurrences. Yes. Even though we said that you use the simple present tense form to state actions that are habitual, there are cases where a person makes use of the simple present tense form to state things that will still happen in future. Take for instance, when you have a sentence like, we leave in the morning. Maybe a person is trying to say that we will leave in the morning, but the person decides to present it this way, we leave in the morning. It is still in the simple present tense form, however, talking about something that will happen in future. It is possible that as at the time of this speech, it was night. The person was speaking at night, but trying to say that we will leave in the morning. But that will is off. And what we have now is we leave in the morning. Now, the sentence structure appears in the simple present tense form, but it is communicating something that will happen in future. And then you have the second sentence here, he plays tomorrow. Let us take, for instance, a situation where somebody like Maguire in Man U has been benched for so long. And then the coach walks up one day to say he plays tomorrow. He's trying to talk about something that will happen the following day, but he presents it in the simple present tense form. He plays tomorrow. That is why we say that the simple present tense form of a sentence can be used to point to actions that will happen in future. But take note that whenever you want to make use of a sentence that appears like the simple present tense form of expressions, and then you want to use it to communicate something that will happen in future, ensure that you have that adverb pointing to the time of the action and that the context, the time at which, the environment within which you make this expression will make the person you are talking to understand that you are talking about something that will happen in the future. Because there are situations, there is a way you will make use of this, it will appear as if you are talking about something else. Now, whenever you want to make use of the simple present tense form of a sentence to communicate something that will happen in the future, ensure that the person you are talking to is carried along. And the person should be carried along by the way you present the sentence. Now, if we are discussing at night, maybe we've been talking about when to leave, and then I walk up to you to say, we leave in the morning. You need no prophet to tell you that what I'm talking about is that we are leaving the following morning. I don't know if you understand this. May I also remind you that whenever you make use of such words as goes, works, speaks, those verbs that we find ending with s, these are what we refer to as the singular forms of verbs, or rather the singular form of the verbs that we have there. Now, these words are not compatible with the words that you have here. You cannot have anything like we goes or I goes. Whenever you make use of any of these, you are expected to present the verb following it in the plural form. It should be we go or we speak, and not any of these here. In our next video, we are going to be discussing the present perfect tense forms. This is Valley Light.